What up? Welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Podcast. A lot of you have been asking me for this, and I've done a lot of interviews with other people. And today you're going to get to hear my story, or at least some of it, going over my career in baseball, kind of my life after when I did the sandwich franchise, and then kind of what I'm up to now. I think it's a good episode to kind of get to know me if you don't know me that well, at least my career wise. On a personal level, I can give you as much detail as I can. And I have a good interview today. A guy named Alex Burkett wanted to interview me for his show. So I recorded it and I said, I'm going to use it for mine as well. So let me know what you think. This is kind of my story, my career in baseball, at least some of it. And you can get to know me a little bit more. And also, you can always find us on Apple Podcasts. Just search Too Tall Sports Podcast on Google Play, Podchaser, iHeartRadio, YouTube. And please subscribe, rate, and review whenever you can. I need those, and it'd be a real help to our show. So thank you very much, as always. And you can find me on social media at Too Tall Sports Podcast. And let me know what you think. So I appreciate all the support, and you finally get to hear a little bit of me today. So enjoy the episode. Thanks.
Welcome back to the show. Joining me today, he's a former minor league baseball player, former franchise owner of restaurants, and the host of the Too Tall Sports Podcast. It's Brett Loring. How are you doing today, Brett?
Good. Thank you for having me, Alex. I appreciate it. Glad to be on the show and looking forward to it, man.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to learn more. You and I connected on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has been one of the best places to learn more about people and people in the podcast industry. And I'm glad we're able to have this conversation so we can learn more about each other.
For sure. Definitely. I think, LinkedIn's great. I think a lot of people underutilize LinkedIn. So I think if you really want to get connected with someone and they'll respect you a little more if you use it, I like that tool too.
I totally agree. So with all my guests, we like to go on their journey through their life, starting right at the beginning. So talk about what were you involved in growing up?
Sports for like basically my whole life. So I just kind of played a little bit of everything. Basketball was like my number one sport. Actually, it's still my favorite sport, but I always kind of played baseball. My dad played both of those when he was growing up. I even played soccer, which, I don't really like it, but everybody plays, like karate when you're a kid. So everybody does a little bit of everything. And then you kind of, as you get older, you figure out kind of what you want to do, but sports for my life, man, that's what I wanted to do.
When you were trying to figure out what sport that you were going to make like the transition to stick to that, was it a difficult decision or was it an easy decision for you?
It was difficult. In high school, once you get like junior, senior year, the coaches of each team they just want you to focus on their sport, of course, because they want you year round and with the team all the time. But I chose to play both baseball and basketball all 4 years of high school. And I wanted to, because I knew at some point one of those was going to end. And truth be told, I would have loved to play basketball. Like that would have been my dream to play, but I kind of got realistic and was like, what do I have the best career chance of playing? And I went with baseball, and obviously ended up working out. But at 18, I had to figure out, I was like, all right, what am I going to do here? Because I had a couple small offers, like Division II offers for basketball, but I had Division I offers for baseball. So I decided to go the baseball route, and I went to the University of Arizona. I was a recruited walk-on, not even a scholarship guy. And I redshirted my first year, didn't get a lot of innings, barely pitched. I was a pitcher, barely pitched my second year. And that's kind of when the turning point happened in my career, when I chose to transfer to Long Beach State. So I went there for 1 year, and that's where I got drafted out of to eventually play professional ball.
Growing up, did you have any inspirations or people that motivated you during playing the sports?
I think, obviously, like The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary, that was a huge, I was still kind of young during those years, but watching him, and then Kobe for basketball became my guy when him and Shaq were together at the Lakers in the early 2000s. That was great, that run. And then for baseball, Ken Griffey Jr. was my guy. Like he was like everything, he was basically the Kobe for me for baseball. I don't know. He was just on another level, I think, as far as talent-wise. So I always enjoyed watching him. But yeah, those kind of were my inspirations growing up.
I played baseball. I played soccer, kind of like you. I kind of played all these different sports. Soccer, and then I went to tennis, and then I went to baseball. I know, I think I went baseball and then tennis. So like soccer, Landon Donovan was like my favorite.
Okay.
And I went to baseball, and a name that's not really mentioned, Nomar Garcia Parra.
For sure. Yeah.
He was like a favorite of mine. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I mean, there was like games that I played and he was always on there. I'm like, okay, this guy is awesome. And then I went to tennis and Andy Roddick was the top person for me. I was like trying to implement his serve. I wasn't great at it, but it was just fun to watch these people and how much they have a passion for the sports that they have. And kind of what you mentioned with Kobe, Shaq, Ken Griffey Jr., they all had the passion for the sports. Did you
Yes.
kind of growing up, you found that passion in a way that this was what you knew you wanted to do?
Right. Like sometimes it's hard to know when you're young, like what you want to do. Like unless you have it in your heart, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor. Like, 100% I'm going to be that. For me, like I almost didn't have any other options. Like I was going with plan A, which was playing sports and seeing how far I could take it. So even going, like, I just had a feeling that's what I was going to do. And I would be surprised if I didn't play in college just coming out of high school. So I had that mindset and I devoted everything to that. And, and that also comes with, all kinds of lessons and everything, just years and hours at the field and on the court for basketball, just dedicated to it. And when you have a passion for it, you're more likely to follow through with it, versus like when people say, write down your goals, you're more likely to do it. It's true, because you'll force yourself to make sure to put yourself in a position to succeed in those goals if you're really passionate about it.
And I think when everyone gets asked that question, what is your dream job out there? And I know for me, it was a game show host. I
Okay.
always wanted to be a game show host. I don't know why. I was most likely to be a game show host in high school, but it's like, where do you go for that? Like, how do I get passionate about it? And eventually, over my time, I ended up getting back into it. So when you were going to college, did you know what college you wanted to go to, or these were the options available at that
I,
time?
yeah, I think once I didn't have a ton of offers, but I had a decent amount. But once I went and visited U of A, University of Arizona, and I just got on campus there, I just felt like this is the right place for me. But that doesn't mean that's the only place you can go. I actually was able to, after my sophomore year, I had to really make a decision. And school wise, by the way, it was great. It's a fun school with parties and all that stuff. But then baseball is a good program. Um, but I was going to be a junior, and I wanted to make it. I had to make a decision. Like, am I getting enough exposure here? No, I'm not. And as much as I loved going to U of A, I had to make a decision that was going to put me in a great spot to get drafted for baseball. So that's
Mhm.
when I chose to go to Long Beach State. Not like coincidentally, my dad actually went there, but it was kind of cool to come home. Not that I needed to be close to home, but I just felt like I need to do something. And that was actually the summer. So that was summer of 2007, before they implemented that rule where if you go from D1 to D1, like a lateral move, you have to sit out a year. Versus if you
Okay.
go D1 down to D2 or D3 or, NAIA, whatever, you don't have to sit out. You can play right away. So I had to make a move. And it was, like I said earlier, it was the turning point in my career. I got a lot more innings, a lot more exposure, and I was able to get drafted. So sometimes it's not always the right fit, but you go with your gut on where you think you should go.
What were you going for in college? Like, what was that degree that you were going for?
I wish I could say a degree in baseball, but I would say business, and then I ended up getting into sociology when I got into at Long Beach State. But I was going for business for the most part.
Were you focusing on the baseball more because you were like hoping I don't need to worry about college in a way? Baseball was going to be that future for me.
Yes and no. I think I always knew, like, all right, I got to make sure I go to school, and I wasn't like, I was never one that was going to miss class. I was, turning my stuff on time. Like, I wasn't that guy who was like, nope, I got it made, I'm going. Because that's just naive. Like, that's the odds of making it are very slim. So you have to
Mhm.
always have a backup plan. But mentally, yes, I was going to school, but mainly to play baseball and see what I could do with it, And once I became a junior and I got closer to getting drafted, I really started to feel it. Like, all right, I got a shot here. Like, I see, like, if I can make this happen. So, but yeah, definitely like I tell a lot of high school kids that are thinking about getting drafted, I highly recommend going to college. You shouldn't miss those years unless the money is overwhelming out of the, signing bonus in the draft. You got to take it.
Yeah.
But I always recommend people go to college.
Because I know that's always a conversation that comes up because a lot of college players, they want to just go ahead and get drafted and then not worry about their senior year. And it's one of those things where an injury could come up.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't get signed anymore. And what do you have to fall back onto? And I think now people are seeing, okay, I need to stay for that senior year. I need to get that degree because you don't know what's going to happen nowadays. People think you could be the best player in the world, but you could have that one off season and now it's where are you at next?
100%. That's why, and you can always go back to school, even though it's tough to do, but I think to at least get 3 years, and I just think maturity wise, like going from 18 to 21 is a huge maturity jump. Like even when I was in the minors, seeing the high school kids, they're so young and they just haven't experienced enough life yet. And they're dealing with older, guys that are a little more salty that have, been around a little longer. You got the Latin guys coming from Dominican, Venezuela that are coming over too. You got to deal with them, so it's just I think for high school kids, I always lean toward college for sure.
During your time playing baseball in college, what did you learn about yourself? What kind of skills did you grow into?
I think for most people, living on your own, like just being, hey, like your mom is, not going to do your laundry anymore, like you got to make food for buy food on your own. You got to take care of yourself. I think that is the biggest jump, is learning how to live on your own, be responsible, pay bills, even though they don't teach you, and that's a whole nother sidebar conversation, but college, I wish they would teach you more about life skills and, taxes and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's just growing up and doing stuff on your own, being away from home. And then you come back, 3-4 years later after college and you're ready to get into the world now. So I think that's what the biggest jump was, maturity.
See, I was ready. I'm like, I can cook, I can pay stuff. I'm like, okay, can I get out of here, please?
Right.
And I mean, my mom was fine with it. She's like, go, you're fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Some kids are more ready than others. You never know. Yeah.
That's true. And like you said, the whole conversation with what should colleges be teaching us and that they don't really teach us.
Yeah.
That's like it's like the conversation where should college athletes get paid? How that was like the huge conversation. And now we're seeing states here making or implementing those rules. It's like, well, can we move? Next topic that we all need to be discussing. So when you were going to, or after college, did you have any regrets or anything that you wanted to experience in college that you didn't get to?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say that much stuff. I mean, I still got to have fun. You're not just the general college kid though. I mean, there was a lot of time. As a student athlete, you're usually waits in the morning. You got to go to class, then you got to go to study hall, then you got practice, and then you got games on top of that when you're in season. You don't get as much time away and to have fun and I guess party as much as other kids, but you still get to do it. Like, you're not in season the whole year. So you have time to do it. And in the summertime and all that stuff. But no, I think I was ready. After my 3 years of college, I was ready. Like just mentally, I was ready for the next thing. Even our team coming back at Long Beach wasn't as great as the year before. We had a ton of guys drafted the year that I got signed. So I was ready. Everybody from that team was ready to move on. So I don't think I regret anything.
So talk about the transition from college to minor leagues. How was that for you?
Yeah, it's different. Some of these guys come from these big Power 5, huge conference programs, and they get a lot of stuff, given to them. And then you start playing in, Everett, Washington. No one's ever heard of it. It's just like, or you're different cities around the country, West Virginia, you're in Alabama. I played in everywhere. So it's definitely different. It kind of has a college feel, but you're playing in front of more people. Guys are getting paid now to play. So it's different. But you kind of have to really pay your dues as far as climbing the ranks in the system. And everybody's trying to do the same thing as you. So in college, everybody's having fun. We want to cherish this forever. When you get to pro ball, it's a business. Like even though I'm living with you or you're on my team, we're all trying to get to the big leagues. And there's about at the time, before they cut all these minor leaguers recently, there's about 150 dudes trying to get to 25 spots in the big leagues. So it's a competition.
Was it very cutthroat style? Like
Yeah.
people would do anything to jeopardize your chance to? I mean,
Not,
not completely,
yeah.
but like, they, I don't know how they would say.
No,
Like,
here, like it. What's I know people, like if somebody got cut or released, like I would even hear guys say, "Hey, that's one less guy I got to worry about," and it sucks, but it's the truth. If
mhm.
I don't think anybody was doing anything malicious or anything like that, but it's hard to see guys get moved up and up and down the system, and you're not getting moved up, and you maybe think you deserve to, and then you get guys mentally just start wrapping their heads around trying to be I always call it like playing GM, general manager, like you trying to make all the moves. Like you can't worry about that stuff. You got to go out and play. The hardest part is it's not all performance based. There's some political stuff. There's certain money behind certain guys the front office drafted that guy. They want him to get moved up. So they're covering their, what's. So there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that happens, but yeah, it's a cutthroat business.
You mentioned when you're watching people get moved up. How do you keep that positive mindset going to know that it's not, you still have that chance? Like, you never know what's going to happen, but I have to keep on going and getting better and better. So my name is the one that gets moved up.
It's really hard. That's such a tough mental game you have to play with yourself. And, and we have sports psychologists on most teams, they have them and they talk to you about the mental side of the game. And they just say, hey, look, you can't control someone else getting moved up or getting a promotion in a job or whatever. You can't control that at all. All you can do is play better. Like, just play better, worry about your game, and it will happen if it's supposed to, basically. Like, you can't show up to the field every day pissed off because someone else got the call and you didn't. Mm-hmm. So it's as hard as it is. That's the only thing you can do, is just play better and hope the organization values what you've been doing. So.
What team did you hope you were going to get drafted to or wanted to play for?
So I grew up a Dodger fan in Southern California. So that was my team. Like I wanted to go to them forever. But honestly, once I didn't care. Once the draft came around, when you're 21 years old and you see, and I was a fifth round pick. So, I had seen 4 rounds of guys go before me. I'm like, hey, I don't care who it is now. Just someone pick me.
Just say my name already.
Someone pick me and I'll be happy. So, yeah, but in the back of my mind, I always wanted to play for the Dodgers. That was the team I wanted to play for. So,
what team did you end up being drafted for?
So I got drafted by Seattle Mariners, and then traded to the Pirates, and then eventually Rule 5 draft, which is another thing, but got traded to the Diamondbacks. So I finished my career with the Diamondbacks and got to AAA with them. So really close, but never got to the big leagues. But 7 years in, so I had a long career for most people. And it was a great experience. Met a bunch of different people from all different cultures, and I've been to a lot of states in the U.S., some that you don't need to go to. So, and some cities that you don't need to go to. So,
well, you can kind of say it was a kind of a full circle, because you mentioned you were inspired by Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah,
and you did play for Seattle, and you kind of were in that system for them. So, did you kind of have that? Okay, I'm kind of following in the footsteps closer to my idol. Right?
A little bit, but he was a phenom. Okay, so I was not that. He was a high school pick. His dad played in the big leagues. Like he was like on the fast track from the time he was 15 years old. So he was different than me. I actually met him. I hate to say this because he was great, like nice guy, but because I'm 6'7" for those that are out there, because I'm taller than him. When I met him, I was like, oh man, he's small. He's like shorter than me, So I thought I was gonna meet this giant figure, and you watch him on TV, but because I'm tall, it was still great, but it was different because he was shorter than me. So.
Is there any players nowadays that you played with during your time at baseball that people would recognize
now? Let's see.
Or played against?
Yeah, I mean, I played against a lot of guys that are in the big leagues right now. I can name a ton of them, but who's probably the biggest name? A lot of the Astros guys, unfortunately, because of that whole cheating scandal. But I played against a lot of them in the minor leagues. I'd say on every team, at least a few guys that I played against. But I was drafted in '08, so we're talking 12 years. A lot of the guys are, if you're not in the big leagues, you're not playing anymore. So the system moves fast. But yeah, there's a bunch of guys that are still up there.
For someone that's listening to this that has never been to a minor league game before, what could you tell them about being able to experience that for the first time?
I think minor league games are good for fans, actually. You can get close to the players. The team usually makes you sign a bunch of autographs. They'll have you get on the field on Sundays and you can, or you can just get closer to the players. And the whole experience is geared around fans. A lot of the big league games are more corporate. They got the luxury boxes. There's none of that usually at the minor league games. You get a lot of promotions. You get sometimes dollar beer night. It's just cool. So I think, especially for kids, they can run the bases after, I think for fans, if you don't care that much and the prices are way cheaper, go to a minor league game if you can get to one. It's fun.
I interned they call it the Frontier League. So it's like below single A, for a team in Missouri. And it was so much fun. I grew up going to those games. And like you said, it's all about family prices. So you're not spending $10 on food at a major league stadium, but you're paying $10 for a seat at least.
Right.
And sometimes with my guests, I like to do a little digging. And I found a video, I think, of you. You played, I guess it was a Pirate Night, and you were asking the players before they could go into the clubhouse, what's the password? And I thought that just brought so many flashbacks for me, because I did a Pirate Night theme during my internship. When you get those opportunities to do those, are you kind of like, I don't want to, yes, sign me up?
Some guys hated it. I didn't mind it. I thought they were fun. It depends what it was. Sometimes when it's cool to when they put those videos up where they do a Q&A with one of the players about random things and you get to know the players a little bit. I think those are fun. And I never really turned down interviews. Some guys just don't want to talk at all. And I was never like that, which is probably why I got into podcasting. But, I don't mind this stuff. I like talking to people and getting, their perspective on things. So, yeah, there's always fun. I'm sure you had plenty of promotions and funny things to do when you were down there. But yeah, I think they're fun. This is what the fans want, and they want interaction. They want to be validated that you talked to them or you signed a ball. So, it's actually really cool. I got some letters in the off season, every off season, from random fans that would be like, hey, thank you so much. You didn't have to stay after and sign a ball for my kid, and you did. So thank you for doing that. So yeah, when you see that, that's pretty cool.
It's kind of making a great impact, because that kid remember that for a long time.
Right.
And they'll maybe follow your career in a way. And if they see you in the streets or something, they're like, hey, I have a signed ball from you.
Yeah.
You talked about some people don't like that. Were you a person that anytime the fans were around, you wanted to be there?
Not always, because sometimes they would have these ridiculous 11 a.m. games, which is way too early, by the way. There's just, how can you get your body ready for a game? It's too early. And then they bring the busloads of the kids in, and they're screaming the whole game, and literally, you ever seen in Finding Nemo, when the seagulls are like, mine, and if there's a foul ball hit down the line near us in the bullpen,
it's a battle.
Look out, dude. And these kids are relentless. So I understand the parents want them to get out of the house and go to a game for the day, but the kids can be difficult sometimes.
I know that experience. We had school nights or summer splash. I don't even remember what it was, but it was camps coming and water parks. And I'm like, no, put me in the office. Let me not.
Right. Exactly.
Holidays, I'm like, okay, I would be fine. But after one day, you're like, nope, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
But working those minor league and lower, it's the best times. I remember those as a kid. Now the team is gone that I used to work for, and now they're a collegiate team, so I don't know much about them. What would you say was the memorable moment you've had playing baseball?
Let's see. In high school, I threw a no-hitter. That was pretty special. That was a big moment my senior year. And then I would say my first season in pro ball, I had a game where I had 13 strikeouts, so that was a big game for me. But just I had random games throughout the year that were good. Pitching in the playoffs and the minors was awesome. I got one AA championship. I was on one of those teams, so that was pretty cool.
You
But
get a
yeah,
ring.
yeah, got a ring.
There we go. What was your? I know, like people that are listening to this, they might play the MLB game. What was your like pitches that you did? Did you have like a knuckleball or something?
I wish. Knuckleballs are hard to throw, man. In the beginning of my career, I threw fastball, curveball, changeup, and then I went kind of more like a fastball slider, so more of a lower angle of a breaking ball and changeup. But I was a starter for most of my career until later in my years I became a reliever, so my role kind of changed. So your mentality changes too, going from starter to reliever. So that was transition.
So after 7 years of playing, when did you kind of know that this was kind of the end, and I have to start looking for the next thing I wanted to do in my life?
So my last year, I played in Long Island for a team that's an independent ball team, and that was kind of like I never thought I'd play independent ball. Basically, for those that don't know, it's basically a pool of players trying to get back to Major League Baseball, whether it's back to the minors, back to the big leagues, whatever it is. So I played independent ball. You're still getting paid, but it's kind of a lower level of professional. But I just knew I was like, I'm going to try this for 1 year. If I can't get back to the big leagues, then I'm done. Like, I'm not a baseball lifer. I didn't need the game anymore. Like, I was done. And I was ready to move on. So I had a great season. I really did. Numbers wise, I had a great season there, and I didn't get picked up by anybody. So I was like, you know what? I'm good. I can feel comfortable leaving. So I was fine with it. And like I said, 7 years is a long time, plus 3 years of college, plus high school and the rest of your life. It's a long time. So I was ready to move on.
Did you ever have any injuries at all?
Yeah, I did. I actually had so you have a labrum in your shoulder and you also have a labrum in your hip. So I actually tore my labrum in my hip. So I had and so I had to get a surgery for that. I almost missed a whole season because of it. So I had like groin injuries that they misdiagnosed forever just from pitching. And it turned out to be a torn labrum in my hip. So I had to get a hip surgery.
Does those injuries play an effect on you today? Like, do you still have pain, or is it more, it's been quite some time and now?
I think I just want to play pickup basketball now, and like my Achilles hurts, my back hurts, like just everything from years of playing. So it's just I just want to be pain free all the time, but it's not that easy. I play a lot of golf now, so that's as best as I can do. Yeah.
So after baseball, what was your transition? What did you start doing next?
So I always kind of had the entrepreneurial mindset, and I just thought I wanted to own my own business, and I thought maybe franchising would be the best. They give you the business plan, and I mean obviously you pay for it, but it's kind of set up for you, and you just follow it, and you do all the hiring and firing and all that stuff, food ordering and food costs and all that stuff. So I had Jimmy John's, the sandwich place, a lot during my minor league career because it was huge in the Midwest and the South. So, and they would before delivery was a common thing. They're like, if it's close, they're delivering to the clubhouse, and it was great. Like before the game, after the game, it was easy. And I had heard that they were coming to California, so I was like, all right, I want to get in on this. So my cousin partnered with me, and we did one store out here. It was the toughest thing I've ever done. I will tell you that. So. It just from scheduling, you got 18 to 22-year-old kids trying to run the show, and you got to train them and keep them around forever, and it's hard, and you're not their first priority. They'll never care as much as you do as the owner. So it was tough though. I was getting up at 4 a.m. every day and there to the store by 5, and getting the bread and the veggies ready and the meats and just everything. And when it's franchise, you have to do everything their way. So and lunchtime business is tough. So it's definitely a competition for food, but yeah, it was hard.
You mentioned that with franchises, you have to do it their way. Did you feel that you were held back? Like, I have these amazing ideas, but I can't really do any of them because it's not what Jimmy John's would want.
Yeah, I was in there. I sold it, and we had it from 2015 to 2018. So we had it for about 3 years, and we were getting ready to do a second store and all that stuff. And we ended up selling and getting out clean, no loss there. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff. Like their thing was 5-minute delivery. Well, when you're in a shopping center, in California, it's tough to get out of the shopping center within 5 minutes, you know what I mean, and get to someone's house or business. So that was limiting. And they didn't have a rewards program forever until recently. So it's like you got Jersey Mike's, you got Subway, you got Firehouse, you got all these other ones that they're farther along. And it just felt like Jimmy John's was a little bit more antiquated and old school. And it works in the Midwest. It's like In and Out for them out there, is in Illinois, or it's where it's from, is in Champaign, Illinois. So we also felt like there was such a lack of marketing in California. I don't think they spent enough out here to help us out. So a lot of the store owners are struggling because it's tough. And also store hours, like nobody's like, if you're making money at night on sandwiches, good for you. Like it's almost impossible in my opinion. So, if you don't make all your money between 11 and 4, you still have to stay open because they pick your hours for you till 9 o'clock. So you're burning through labor, and it's just like, what are we doing here? So there's a lot of stuff. We couldn't have our own social media without getting corporate approval. When you buy into their model, you have to do it their way.
Did you ever think about taking what you've learned from franchising and starting like your own restaurant in a way?
Restaurants are really tough. Just, by the way, if anybody listening, you can totally reach out to me. I'll talk to you as long as you want about, before you get into a franchise, what I would, some advice I'd give you on that, or any restaurant at all. It's tough. Like I said, the labor side, you got dealing with people, like customer service, like people, sometimes people suck. Like, let's be honest, So you have to just deal with that. And maybe that one customer a day just ruins your whole day, and everybody else is great, but you remember the one idiot that was complaining about something, so I don't know if I want to get back into restaurants, but maybe starting my own business in the future. Yeah, definitely. I think that I've always wanted to do that and kind of lead versus just always work for somebody else if I can. So, yeah.
Where in California was the Jimmy John's?
So it was in the Corona area, which is a little bit Inland Empire from where I'm at in Orange County. So it's about 40 minutes away from where I live, but it's in, I guess, what state are you in?
I'm in Missouri.
Missouri. Okay. So it's basically an hour-ish south of LA. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know main areas in California from shows and stuff, but it's like, I only know because when you mentioned like drive time, I'm like, yeah, I've heard about California traffic is not the best at all.
Yeah. I'm sure delivery in Missouri is a little bit easier than delivery out here.
Yes. Depending on where you're at. I know downtown St. Louis, it can get tough because if you hit like rush hour, like good luck.
Right.
Like getting anywhere.
Right.
But like I'm in Columbia, so like where you is in that, and you can get on the highway in like seconds.
Right. That's one more thing I'll say about that is, the corporate owned the college campus stores. So those would crank out sandwiches all night long and deliver to the dorms. And so they make probably double what the, suburb shopping center stores make. So if you have a campus store, you're killing.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. I don't think there's a Jimmy John's near. There's like one near my house, but I only been there once.
Yeah.
Were you, when you were working at Jimmy John's and you had it as a baseball player, were you kind of like, I don't want to eat this, I'm done with it? Like, just looking at it doesn't look appetizing at all?
I have to admit, I haven't been back since I sold it. So not saying it's bad. It's just, it's limited from what you can get. Sometimes their menu's a little limited. It's fast. It's definitely fresh. I give you that. Their whole slogan is freaky fast. So no, look, it was a great experience for me. It was the toughest thing I've ever done, especially being owner operator. So it wasn't like just the silent money removed from it all. I'm in the store almost every single day and just long hours. So it was tough. Taught me a lot, with scheduling and labor and payroll and all that stuff. So, yeah.
What are like a few tips or advice would you give someone that's trying to get into franchising?
All right. I'm going to give you just like those infomercials you see, I'm going to give you my 3 tips on getting into franchising. These are the ones I honestly believe in. 1, you have to have money or be able to get money, whether it's a loan or you have cash, you got investors. You have to have some capital to get into this stuff because you're going to burn through some for sure and possibly end up losing for a little while. So you have to have money. That's number 1. Number 2, you have to believe in what you're selling or in the product, because if you don't, it's going to be a tough sell and you're not going to be 100% behind it, going back to the passion talk. So you got to believe it, and you got to have the will to get up every day and keep doing it no matter how hard it gets. And number three, I think this is the biggest one. You can't be afraid to fail. No matter what, if you believe in this, you cannot be afraid of what it looks like or how you're doing in the first year. You can't judge yourself quickly. You have to make sure you are not afraid to fail, and you're ready for the journey, and you believe in what you're doing. So those are my 3 tips.
Your last one kind of goes off of the episode I just posted about
Okay.
confidence in a way. And one of the things I mentioned is trial and error, like going for you got to take the risk sometimes, because if you don't want to regret not doing it. But if you have the passion and you're not afraid to try it, go for it. Like if something bad happens, you adjust on the fly, or you kind of take a step back, think about it, and then transition into the direction you want it to go. So I like those 3 tips that you gave for someone that.
Yeah, and I don't want to be, 50 years old and go, man, I wish I would have tried to own my own business or start something like that. And trust me, there's guys that are, because, we had to go to academy and training and, all the apprenticeships to learn how to run the store and all that stuff. And there's 50-plus-year-old guys in there just starting out. I'm looking at them going, do you even know what you're getting into, man? Like, I hope you're not working in the store every day unless you got an abundance of energy, because good luck hiring those kids that you don't relate with. We were young owners, so, which is great. And, obviously our parents helped us out and all that stuff. But man, I couldn't imagine being an older guy or girl running a store like that, because it's tough. So
for someone that, definitely age difference. I think in a lot of people's industries that the difference in age can play an effect on, like, for a manager. Like, I know my managers, they vary in ages, so they kind of have to think, what is a young person? Because I'm the youngest in my company. What kind of tips would you give someone from your perspective of trying to work with those younger kids in a way?
Yeah, even for me, like, and I'm not that old. I'm 33, but I was at the time, I was like 28, hiring kids that are 18, 10 years younger than me. And it's just, you have to first of all, you have to make sure they're a good fit, right? You have to make sure that work is one of their priorities other than school and homework and friends and all that stuff. But, we were tough on the interview process. Like, can you show up on time? Can you do things the right way and follow directions and just be a good person? So if you can at least do that, we will work with you. And also, if someone does something well, you need to praise them. You need to encourage them. Even if some people say, I don't need you to tell me how good. No, everyone needs encouragement. So just say, hey, I really like what you did there. Or if they did do or mess up, or they did make a mistake, ask them, like, hey, what were you like? What were you doing in this situation? Or how did you, in a nice way, but you still have to be a little bit stern. So it sinks in a little bit, like, hey, we can't do that. Or like, some kids wouldn't wear the right shirt, or they, wouldn't bring their hat. And they're like, I'm like, no, there is a standard and you have to live up to it. It's a privilege to work here or whatever, even if it is just a first job. So yeah. I think listening, but also you got to have rules, and you got to be able to praise them when they do something right.
Yeah, I think, because I know some people, like, if they are getting yelled at, that's not the best answer, because the person, it's one of those things where it kind of goes in one ear, out the other. They're not really going to take it. But if you kind of have that tone in your voice where they know you're serious, but it's not in a demanding way, they're going to understand it, and they're going to make those changes for the better.
Yeah, I also think if someone messes up, don't embarrass them in front of the group. That's a bad look. You're going to lose respect there. Take them, just say, hey, can I talk to you around the corner real quick? Just do it that way. It's much better. You don't need to blow them up in front of the whole staff. So I think just being smart and being respectful, even though they work for you, they're still people just like you.
Yeah. If you had to own any franchise just for fun, what would have been that next franchise you would like to be a part of?
That is a great question. I don't know if they do them, but I love Chipotle. So I think that would have been awesome. Obviously, it's tough too. They got rules. And I have to say, though, real quick, backing up, I am very thankful I don't have a small business right now. Going through the COVID times and pandemic, like it's tough. So I couldn't imagine surviving through this. So I feel bad for those people, and I hope everyone does come out of it on the right side. But back to your question, Chipotle, Starbucks, In and Out, even though they're private, all those are like you're printing money when you get one of those.
So it sounds like kind of like fast food in a way. Well, I don't know if I call it Chipotle fast food, but
fast casual, I guess they call it.
Yeah. So you kind of like those quick things in a way.
I don't think they're going anywhere. I think there's drive-through is huge. I do think the delivery is the big wave now, right? Everybody wants delivery. So I think anything that does, everyone has been forced to do takeout. So you have to have an element of that. But I don't, like I said, restaurants are tough. I don't know if I would do another restaurant. They're just hard, and like I said, with franchising, and at least for us, there's a 10% going back to Uncle Jimmy every week, so right away gone. So it's tough. You got to do it their way, and you got to pay them for the business model. So
I know I see like all these franchises, and they're just like popping up everywhere, and it's just amazing. And like you said, they're the ones that are going to be around for a long time.
Also Chick-fil-A too.
Yeah. I think when I went to college, Chick-fil-A was in our dining hall, and we would eat that all Chick-fil-A and Qdoba. And after I graduated, I don't think I had Chick-fil-A for like 2 years because I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
But Chick-fil-A would be a good one. I'd probably eat the time I would be working, but
yeah,
that's just me.
Right. No, they have great food. I love, and they're, obviously everyone loves their service, the way they do things. So it goes a long way.
Yeah. After you sold it in 2018, what was next for you?
Yeah, I thought I was ready to, as much as I wanted to own my own business again, I was like, you know what, this I was just so stressed out from that whole experience. I needed a break from that. And I just always thought if I wasn't going to be in that, sales is like a natural progression for a lot of athletes. It's competitive, they keep score, as they say. So, I think, and I wanted to deal with people. Like I'm personable, approachable. I want to be able to be with people. So even though outside sales is really tough, I just was like, let me give this a shot. So I ended up falling into the solar business. I knew somebody that was working at a solar company. And so I started working with them, and it was basically doing residential solar. So I was going to people's homes, pitching solar. Most of the time it made sense unless their electric bills were really low. But I was happy to get with a publicly traded company, my first real, and remember, I'm, 30 years old, just starting my career in sales, so I think that's a tough transition for athletes. I didn't take a break after my career. I went right into franchising. So I spent from 21 till 29 not building a resume for real life. So I was just now at 30. It's never too late to start a professional career. So it was definitely different.
Were you like going door to door? I think as a salesperson?
Some of the time, yeah. But we were also getting leads from other sources. So they would just kind of like get put on my calendar based on what time slots I had available. And then it's a lot of driving, it was an outside sales. So it's pretty much all of Orange County. So I would drive to people's homes and sit down with them and kind of for about an hour and just kind of go through a presentation like, hey, this is what you're paying for electricity. If you go solar, you can lock in these rates, or you can make a great investment, long-term in this if you have the cash ready to go. So we had different options for them. But again, it's something I believe in. It makes sense. Solar makes sense, especially out here. It's so expensive for electricity. Why not do it, So
I feel like you're trying to sell me on buying solar.
I'm not even working for them right now. But this is to me, it's a no-brainer because if you want more of a sales pitch. No, the electric companies, just like everything, are always going to raise rates, and you have to buy electricity forever. Yep. So why not either lock in your rate with a company that can provide you with the same power, but you're paying way less for it over time, or make a good investment and you get your tax credit, and, there's lots of benefits to it. So, but trust me, there's a lot of other factors. Your roof has to be good. If it's not, you got to redo it, there's lots of things, permitting, and so it's a process, but I think it makes sense for most people.
What were some obstacles that you have found or you did find when you were doing your sales job, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
I think with in-home sales, especially when you're dealing directly to the consumer, not, business to business, but B2C, I guess, it's especially for someone's home. It's such an emotional decision. It's like, wait, you're going to get up on my roof and like do stuff up there and break tiles and wait, I'm so used to doing, I just pay my bills. Wait, I'm not used to, like they didn't even know they had an option really. So I think just trying to convince people like, hey, it's okay. Like you're not gonna have to change the way you live. You're just gonna pay way less for using the same amount of power. Like it, and just having to deal with lots of competition. There's a ton of other solar companies out there. I worked for one of the big ones. So, we were always more expensive, almost always. So you're like, hey, I know this mom and pop company is going to offer you at half price, but are they going to be around next year? Do they have enough lead flow to do enough installations? Oh, they're going to come by next week and already install it. How have they already gone through your HOA and, gotten your permits already? Well, the reason they don't have any other jobs on the calendar. So they're pretty wide open, I'd say. So it's just, there's lots of obstacles when you're dealing with competition in any business. It's what kind of value do you bring? Not necessarily on price, but long term, do you trust that this company I'm going to partner with is going to be here for me? So that was the angle that I would usually come from.
So you worked with this job up until the COVID.
Yeah.
What was your reaction or the emotional side when you kind of were let go of the position?
It sucked, I wasn't expecting it. And I had actually led all of Orange County for our team in installation. So homes that had solar installed for the first quarter of 2020. And so I was surprised. My sales numbers were down a little bit just because I was looking around to see what else was out there anyway. But even so, I was still surprised. It's never a good feeling to get let go. It's just like the day I got released in baseball. It's just like, man, this sucks. Like there's nothing you can do. So, yep. It gives you an opportunity to do other things, though. You step back, you get time to kind of evaluate where you're at in life, and then that's kind of how I got into podcasting over the last couple of months, just like you. Like I was able to be like, wow, I have time. I've always wanted to do this. Let me give it a shot.
I think some people may view it as this whole pandemic was kind of something bad, but I kind of look at it as it was kind of a good thing for me because I was able to build or look at my goals list or vision board and be, what can I accomplish now? And I've always had the topic of doing something like this with friends. And I was like, I didn't have the confidence to do it. And I was like, this is the perfect timing to do it. And like you said, this is the perfect timing to try something new in a way. So talk about how did you get into podcasting and basically the theme of your podcast.
About 4 or 5 years ago, my buddy and I actually tried to do this. And even a few months ago, he and I did it again. And we kind of had a different style of show, but we always just kind of thought it'd be fun. Like we just, do a bunch of movie lines and, back and forth, funny topics and stuff like that. I never really knew what the goal of the show was going to be when we were doing that. But then kind of when he stepped back and I took over, it became more of an interview show. So I was like, you know what? I have a huge network of people, and I always knew this, but I didn't really dig into it yet, of former baseball players, coaches, different athletes from my growing up and in my past. And I was just like, hey, let me see if I can maybe transition into more of that. So my whole thing is you can get your news anywhere. Like you don't need me to tell you what is going on in the sports world from like ESPN.com or Yahoo, or wherever you get your news, Google, whatever. What you need me for is stories that you've never heard before or someone's journey in there, kind of like you're doing right now. No one can give you really that on a mainstream scale. So I like the story aspect and little nuggets from people during their careers of like, we would have never known that, or wow, this guy went from undrafted, no one even knew who he was, to made it to the big leagues. Like that's a crazy story. I think people connect more with stories. I could just read off online what's going on with Dak Prescott's contract today. No, I don't care about that. So my mission is to give a story, and because I do have some credibility, because I played professionally, people might be more inclined to listen and be like, hey, this guy gets it. He can speak the game. He's, deep. I want to have some sports psychologists on so I can get that stuff. So I want to give something different than just the average, podcaster who's sitting around talking about fantasy rankings all day long.
Correct. It's kind of like when I listen to a podcast, I always look at what can I learn from this? Like if I'm spending an hour listening to this, am I going to get something out of it? So definitely that was kind of the vision for me is what can I give the listeners in a way? What can they learn? And I'm all about trying to motivate them. This is kind of the time to bring positive influences into the world and motivational. I'm all about motivational quotes. And most of the time, usually with every podcast I do, I always have a quick fire challenge, which is a motivational quote, something that they can use that my guest went through, and it kind of helps the listener be like, okay, how did they use this quote? Where is it going to come from? So it keeps them engaged in a way. And I love hearing the responses from my guests after they come on and from listeners, because it keeps them motivated. It builds that self-confidence in a way. How did you get the title? I mean, you kind of mentioned that you're tall. So.
Right. Because, so it's called Too Tall Sports Podcast. By the way, you can find me everywhere, wherever you want, Instagram, all the platforms, Too Tall Sports Podcast. So yes, I'm just too tall for most things, like airplane seats, unless I get exit row or aisle, cars, I usually, luckily, have to sit in the front, like it's hard to buy clothes. It's hard to buy shoes in store. Like, nope, don't have it. Nope, can't help you. So it's just in general, I'm just too tall for stuff. So I thought, why not, so. I thought it'd be fun, but also like just to give an idea. And also that's why like with the cover art that I have, I wanted to be part of like the big city, like skyscraper skyline, but also with a stadium, like, just like a professional, but also sports. So I kind of wanted to come from that angle.
Was that a Dodger stadium? Yeah. Or what stadium did you use?
Yeah, it's like a loose. Yeah, I didn't do. Trust me, that's way over my head. So one of my buddies did the art. So yeah, no, it was really cool. It came out great.
I will say it's kind of like the hook. If someone's going to get hooked onto the title, they're going to be more interested to find out more information about what you're able to offer. So you kind of did a great job, because when I heard it, I was like, I like this title in a way. It hooks me. It basically hooks me in.
That's what you want. You want the hook, and then you got them,
So far with all your interviews, do you have a memorable moment so far? Like something you've learned from a guest that you've had on?
Yeah, I thought it was crazy. I know you said you just listened to it, the Chris Gronkowski episode that I have. So Rob Gronkowski's brother, who's actually older than him, about his ice shaker bottle company. He got to go on Shark Tank. I thought that was awesome that he shared that. And, there's 5 brothers of the Gronkowskis. So you kind of have to find your way in that family. And, he was like the 3rd best, I think, in football wise, and just learning his journey of, he didn't get drafted. He went undrafted, got signed by Dallas, and then he got to play in Indianapolis and then Denver, and his wife's company took off. And I think the coolest thing was figuring out, like, he really found his own niche with this ice shaker company. So I thought that was cool to hear, because Rob had his thing and his older brother was already, it was cool to hear his side of the story about creating something, even though there's already people that are famous in his family.
And I think something from that interview that I got is he mentioned that people know him as one way, but you mentioned him being like the smartest or the most like entrepreneurial out of the group. And he kind of had that moment like, that's interesting. And so it kind of built him up. So he's able to, okay, I can do this. I'm doing well at where I am today.
Right. Exactly. I wanted to bring him on, and, not just because of the name, but like, it's a cool story, to go from somebody, like I said, not the most famous person in your family, but now on the business side, he's killing, so it was really cool to have him on to talk about that.
Did he give you a free ice shaker?
You know what? I told him I didn't want it free. I wanted to support the brand. He gave me a discount, but if anybody does want it out there, I think I have a promo code, Too Tall. You can use that, and you can get an ice shaker .com and get a bottle, and I got the logo on it, and so it's cool. No, I wanted to support the business, and no, he's great.
That's good. So you mentioned that you're in Orange County. Why did you pick Orange County to live in?
Well, my parents picked it first, so I really didn't get a choice. But because simply for all you Missourians out there, there's nowhere better on earth than Orange County. So weather's great.
Not-
Yeah, right. It's perfect. It is expensive. Don't get me wrong. Cost of living. I'm sure I could buy a great house in Missouri, which maybe I will someday. Maybe I'll buy a home out there. But no, it's awesome. And even during my minor league career, like I said, I went all around the country. So I went to some great places. Like if I had to rank them, second and third, I'd probably say Scottsdale, Arizona, second. Great place to be. I have some buddies over there. Parts of Florida are nice. On the Tampa Clearwater side, there's some nice parts, or on the Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach on the east side, but in Miami, obviously. But I don't know. I just found myself coming back here. Maybe the family aspect is closer, but LA is too crazy for me. At least it's just too many people, and so Orange County is a little slower, but also fast paced, and it's just a great area.
So something we like to do with our guests is kind of reflect on the interview. What does the future look like for you personally or professionally? What's your next goals that you're wanting to accomplish?
Yeah, I'd like to grow the show as much as I can. Obviously, it's a tough road in the podcast world, but hey, Joe Rogan signed a $100 million deal with Spotify.
That's all of our dreams right now.
Anything is possible. But yeah, if I can do that, that'd be not that, but if I can do, make it into something, that'd be awesome. Maybe get picked up by a network or something like that, and have some free reign and be able to be a part of a show or a network. That'd be great. I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to say right now. I don't wish I had a better answer for you right now, but I might get back into. I'm probably going to get back into sales. There's no question about that, at least for now. But just don't know which field. Possibly get into commercial solar and not deal with as many homeowners anymore. Do more big projects, larger deals, maybe something like that. So I'm looking into a few things, but still kind of evaluating. I'm just taking it slow and figuring out what I really want to do next. But for now, it's podcasting.
Well, you mentioned you were playing golf. You could just become another professional golfer. Might as well.
I got zero chance of that.
I think I just found my golf clubs. And I'm like, well, these haven't been used in forever. I'm like one of those people when I play golf. If there's a house off the fairway, I'm slicing it and hitting the windows. You better watch out. I don't want to play with it.
It's hard, dude. It's a tough sport. I just, it's frustrating, but you hit a couple shots around or a couple good holes. Like, this is why I'm coming back every time. So,
is there any like known golf courses? Like, is Pebble Beach in California?
Yeah, Pebble Beach is above San Francisco. It's in Monterey area. So yeah, that's like a world-renowned course. There's the Riviera in LA is a nice one. There's you got like Beverly Hills and Bel Air Country Club and all that stuff. There's some nice courses down here too. Yeah, there's a ton down here.
Is there like one course that you're like wanting? It's on like your bucket list.
I want to go play Pebble. So speaking of that one, yeah, I think that's like the mecca of golf. So I got to go play there at some point.
Everyone just visions that one. I don't know what hole it is, but it's the whole side is like water off the cliff or something. I'm like, can I just stand near it? Like, I don't want to play because the ball is going to go in the water, but just let me look out.
So my dad and I went to the U.S. Open last year. We got tickets to go up there. So we walked the tournament. It's spectacular. Like I definitely want to go back and play there and just to like, it was crazy. And obviously before COVID, like the fan experience is great. We bought a whole bunch of expensive t-shirts just cause they had the logo for US Open on it. It's probably $30, but now it's $90.
Yeah.
It was totally worth it though. Yeah.
For someone getting into baseball, what tips or advice would you give
them? What age are we talking about? Young kids?
I guess someone in college or minor leagues. Like you probably had like an experience or like what's something like you learned during your time that you would give them as an advice?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing, kind of like we talked about earlier, is you cannot control what other people are going to do or how they're going to play. You can only control your game, and that's as far as it should go. How far up you go in baseball is not up to you other than your performance on the field. So just focus on that, keep working hard, and don't worry about what everybody else is doing.
For someone getting into podcasting, what tips or advice would you give someone? We kind of both can relate with being new at this. So
I think being consistent is, from what I've seen, is the most, trying to build the following and um, just putting out good content consistently. I think that's the biggest thing. Trying to give the, like, I heard someone say it like this: would you want to listen to your podcast? That's what you have to remember. Like, if you're, while you're doing it, would someone actually want to listen to this? And if you can say yes to it, then yeah, then keep doing it.
I think some people that I know, they kind of look at how many people are listening as like the factor if they continue or not. And I've read articles and they're like, well, you have to give it time. I mean, for me, I'm a no one. Like, no, I'm not famous or anything, but if I can network with people and reach out and people are finding that I'm able to contact people and learn more from them, they might want to come in and listen to me. So I don't look at views or anything. It's more, I enjoy talking to everyone because I learn something new from them. I learn something new about myself and I'm getting the whole experience. So I get 10 views. I'm fine with it. Those 10 better have learned. I hope they've learned something from listening to it.
Yeah, and sometimes following is a little deceiving. Like, just because you have a bunch of followers, how many listeners are you getting? You might have, right? Like, you might have a big social media following, but what if you're only getting 10 listens out of 1,000 followers? So I think to build the, as they say, organic following of people that actually listen to you is more important than getting a ton of followers and nobody listening to you.
Yeah. You definitely want, like you said, the content. You want quality, not quantity.
Yeah, provide a reason for people to come back.
Correct. I don't want to just post a post. Like I want to take the time and make sure the episode's good and it's worth the time to edit and all that.
Right.
Do you edit yourself?
No.
Like,
no. I have my buddy who did the cover art also. He's more on like he has that brain for that stuff. So he's the best. I would struggle without him because I don't want to do the editing. I'd rather have someone who's good at it do it. So yeah.
I was making I did charity events in my days in college, and I did video editing and stuff like that. So I kind of have that experience, but when it comes to just audio stuff, I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, do I make this louder? And I remember my favorite is when my friends are like, your first episode, your voice sounds very low. And I'm like, well, I was trying to sound like a cinema trailer in a way, but it just did not come out
right. This summer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, if someone can laugh at it, I did my job. Everyone laughs.
Yeah, for sure.
The final question for someone listening to this interview: what tips or advice would you give them for them to rise to their challenge, to overcome an obstacle, and accomplish their goals?
I would say if you're struggling in the moment, you try not to get caught up so much on what's happening right now. It will, as long as you are willing to do the work to get better at whatever you're doing and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, then keep pushing toward that goal. Just because it sucks right now doesn't mean it's going to suck forever. And don't let your brain create that reality that, well, this is it for me. No, it's just today might be a bad day, but just like I said earlier, if you believe in it, you will push through and make it happen. So as long as your goals are in line and you have your plan, you got to work your plan once you're ready to go.
Yeah, and everyone's not perfect. Like, a lot of people may have to go through some failures or something low in their life to get them back up on their track. I was just talking to a friend who has been all over the graph in a way, saying it, and he's now finding his stride in a positive direction, and it just brings up someone's confidence in a way and keeps them motivated to continue doing what they love doing.
Definitely. And I did not want to sell. I was the last one that wanted to, out of my, parents and my partner my business partner, I did not want to sell the franchise at all. I got into this for the long term and I wanted to get 5 to 10 stores. That was the goal. But I ended up selling after 3 years because we had to, and it was not what I wanted, but I went through it and I ended up on the other side, so just things are going to happen. It's not all going to go to plan. And I'm someone that struggles with, it's, the uncertainty of not being in control of stuff, so if you can be okay with some uncertainty and keep pushing, you will find your way. Everybody kind of finds their way at some point.
I have those moments where I'm always like, strategy, which way something's going to come out. And I think I've learned about myself where I kind of have to like let go in a way and kind of just say, whatever the road takes me, just continue on it and make changes as you go. It's not going to be perfect, but as long as you're learning from it, you're getting something out of it.
Yeah, definitely. You want my motivational quote for you? So
We write it down.
my dad, I grew up on, you know who John Wooden is, the old UCLA coach who's like one of the storied coaches in the history of college basketball. Have you ever heard that name before, John Wooden?
I don't think so.
Okay. So anyway, he's old. Like they used to call him the Wizard of Westwood because that's where UCLA is. So he has a whole ton of books, but the one that always sticks in my mind is failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So if you are always prepared, there's no fear, there's no what ifs. If you're ready for what the challenges might be or even a little over prepared, there's nothing to worry about because you're ready to go. So that's my feeling. Yeah.
That's going to be the quick fire challenge for this.
There you go.
Keep those listeners engaged. Well, Brett, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about your experience and letting the listeners go on your rise to the challenge.
Thank you very much. It was great. I got saved this interview. I might even use it for myself because I needed someone to ask me all these questions. So you're doing great. Stick with it. Thank you very much again. It was an honor to be on your show. So thank you for having me.